WCRN. Like all business owners, I'm interested in why people choose to work with Boston Independence Group. So I asked my clients. The most common response: Jerry does not try to be all things to all people. Boston Independence Group is specialized, focused solely on retirement planning. My customers enjoy the difference. We do one thing, and we do it exceptionally well: help other people live better in retirement. That's it. If you're ready to retire or making plans to retire, we can do for you what we've done for hundreds of other retirees throughout New England. Live better in retirement. Just give me a call. I'll show you how. My toll-free number is 877-772-1776. Again, that number is 877-772-1776. And you can visit us on the web at bostonindependencegroup.com. bostonindependencegroup.com.
It was another quiet night at the office. No phone calls, no messages. Nothing but junk mail and overdue bills to keep me company. Seems nobody wants to hire a real private dick anymore, a professional like me. A guy who does the detective work nobody else wants to do. A guy who wears hats and walks around in a black and white world. I began contemplating a more profitable line of work, like politics.
We are the show. You want to know. It's time to talk to Joe.
All right, folks. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the very first 11 a.m. Wednesday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show. Yes, beginning this week, instead of 1 o'clock, I will be joining you at 11 o'clock right here on AM 830 WCRN Radio Central. And our afternoon has shifted a little bit. So Howie Carr now is beginning at 2 o'clock, and you get the full 4 hours, 2 to 6. And on Wednesdays like this, Tuesdays and Thursdays as well, Frankie Boyer comes an hour earlier at 1 o'clock. So I hope you enjoy the shift, and I hope you know about the shift. That's the first thing, right? Know that that's happening. And please tune in a little earlier for the Joe Mangiacotti Show. Like I said, 11 o'clock on Wednesdays. And, of course, Sundays now from 9 until noon. And we always have Jerry Doherty join me at 9:30 for about a half hour. Sometimes he stays longer. It depends on what fantastical event he has planned for his Sunday, whether he stays long or not. But now Sundays 9 to noon and Wednesdays 11 to noon. And then, of course, Doug Rowan will round it out for your lunchtime hour. Let's take care of housekeeping. You can join the conversation at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. And that gets you right into the studio for two-way talk and conversation. And you can also text me. The text line is open, which means the screen is open here in the studio. And if you text 617-297-8388, 617-297-8388, it appears on a screen here in the studio in real time, and we try to work it into the conversation. And for those that send those 5, 6 paragraph texts, you know who you are. Just do an email. Do an email. It's much better. I can't really read 5 paragraphs on the fly here and work it into the conversation. Send an email, bring it up in the next show or address it in the next show, or pick up the phone and dial 508-871-7000. That's really, this is it, right? Talk radio. We're the original social media. We're the original interactive media. Talk radio was the first. We're talking over 130 years ago. Okay, so this is it. This is the granddaddy of social media, folks, is live talk radio. 508-871-7000. Ted A. behind the glass, flying the board back at HQ. He'll get you set up and into the studio for two-way talk and conversation. And I am broadcasting from the Cameo studio, so the Cameo Cam is on. So the station does stream live 24/7, like thousands of other radio stations do, right? So you can go to TuneIn, punch in WCRN, you'll see our cool logo. Do me a favor, hit the like button. We know you're there, and then we're easy to find. I personally love this feature because I use it on my phone. And when I have to get in and out of the car all day long, I'm listening to all our great programming without missing a beat. And, of course, you can tell Alexa to play WCRN, and she'll do that. No questions asked. Now, I do stream this show to the station's Facebook page and YouTube channel, so you can go there and watch it, or you can go to my social media platforms at Joe Mangiacotti Show. Now, I do stream multiple ones, right? We've got Twitch TV, LinkedIn profile, X, my X account for the show, Facebook page for the show, as well as Rumble. We do stream live to Rumble. Rumble has a Joe Mangiacotti Show channel, so that's fantastic. I think that kind of takes care of housekeeping. And again, lines are open and available, 508-871-7000. Now, today is an interesting day because we got these juxtaposed things happening. And it's interesting because you tell me whether or not these things are connected or not, right? But before we dive into what I want to talk about today, and it seems like China's a real hot issue. But let me go to the phones first. Tyler's waiting patiently. Hey, Tyler, what say you? Okay, Tyler, we got you. Go ahead. I guess I'm not hearing him, Ted, if that's helping you.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. You're kind of muffled, Tyler. Can you reposition your microphone?
Gotta get off the speakerphone.
Yeah. Ted, why don't you...
I'm not on speaker, but I stopped because it's raining. I'm under the Taylor Street exit. It's a tunnel. Is it echoing?
Well, you sound better now.
Okay. I stopped at the Taylor Street ramp for it's raining, so I'm under like a little thing. I'll talk.
Okay.
quietly.
Go ahead. What's up?
Oh, well, I mean, Joe, Ted, they call this the Dukakis special. It's the new thing where they run for an office like Modani, and then they raise the tax for the commercial rate from 8%. He added 9%. He doubled it and added 1%, and then a $33 congestion tax. These are the results if their attempts to pass grimy tax increases don't occur. So it seems like we're seeing a trend where they go in and like based on a character, like a wrestler or a comedian, and then they go in and do the opposite, and it happens over and over. Don't you think people are going to catch on to it?
I didn't hear were you talking about Mendami or are you talking about Maura Healey?
No, Modani in New York. He took the commercial real estate rate, added, he doubled it plus one. Now that's $170,000 per 100,000. That's a lot of money. And then he added a $33 congestion.
Tyler, Mendami is like the child that realizes that he can't get magical things, right? I mean, here he goes through his thing promising all these free. Now, remember, what is he, like 33, 34 years old, comes from an affluent family. I mean, the wedding alone, it was probably what the average person makes in 4 or 5 years, the cost of the wedding, and lives in a couple $1 million brownstone or something. And I don't know if he really understands the real world application of communism, but he professes these free things. There is nothing free, period. Okay. That there's a couple absolutes, right? We have death, we have taxes, and let's add to that, there is no such thing as a free lunch, as a solid law of physics here. It just doesn't happen. So he goes in with all these promises of this stuff, and he finds out that can't happen, right? We have we're going to have these free, these grocery stores are going to open up, 7 or whatever. First one, $30 million, and it's going to not open until 2029. Buses, right? Within a week of him being sworn in, I think the Tuesday after he's sworn in, the bus fares actually went up. So he keeps going to the governor. So he goes to Tuthi Hochul there. She says no. Then a little time passes, and then she gives him what he wants. So I don't know what's going on behind the scenes there, but there's a pattern that has emerged there. But the bottom line on Mendami is the reality is sinking in. And then what is the consequences of what he's doing with the tax the rich and targeting these rich people? They are wrapping up that little thing in front of Griffin's $238 million townhouse condo there that he did his little commercial in front of. That was creepy to the guy. And it made him shift about $40 billion more dollars out of New York. And this is just the most simple thing they don't understand, is that you're attacking people who are successful and you're attacking them for their success. They have the means, ability, and wherewithal just to move. And if you say we're going to tax you at 70% of every dollar over $2 million, what is stopping these millionaires and billionaires to work that year when they hit $2 million, say in February or March?
Yep.
They say, I'm done. I'm going to furlough all my employees. I'm going to lay everybody off. I'm going to go on my yacht. I'm going to play golf. I'm going to travel to the Bahamas, whatever. I'll be back next February, right? And I'll make my another $2 million because they don't need to work. It's just so stupid that they've never understood the basics of economics and how this is going to work. And now you got Hochul, who a couple of years ago stood there at the podium and lectured the people who were transferring out. And New York and Massachusetts has a great number of exodus here, and lectured them about, good, we don't need you. You're not the type of New Yorkers. If you don't want to turn all your money over to us to redistribute to people who aren't working, then you can leave. Know what they did? They left. Now she's out there begging them to either return, and they're not going to return. Donald Trump said it the other day. He was on, and I don't know if he said it on a national thing, but our new masters that are coming in at WABC, I listened to their station quite a bit, and he was on with Sid in the morning, and he said to Sid the same thing. Look, once somebody leaves, you ain't getting him back. They don't come back. Right. Once they leave the state, they are gone. And Donald Trump is a perfect example of that, right? He relocated his permanent residence to Mar-a-Lago, and they're not going to come back. And then Hochul has the audacity to say, well, you don't have to come back. Why don't you just be a good patriot? Yeah, patriot. In her mind, this is a patriot. Just write us a fat check. Those are her words, man. So it's look, New York is going to continue to bleed the producers because 1% in New York City, 1%, the top 1% earners in New York City pay 40% of the tax bill in New York City.
It's crazy. And Joe, when you bring up the reality that, I jokingly said they get into costume, they get into character, and what you're hearing about Modani's rich elite lifestyles, they are characters and they are actors. They tell us what they want to hear. So when I said he's playing the poor immigrant card like Vince McMahon at WWE, it's a simple reality. And this is a simple closing point. When Washington fought off starvation, the British and freezing, these are men who had to really struggle. And people who built the country being backstabbed, undermined, and burned by fools who are bought and paid for and create a subculture. It's atrocious. And now they want lawyers for illegal immigrants. They're raising the rates to make it impossible to get utilities. They're trying to privatize everything so they can take over. They're really out of control. And the closing point is, when you come to this country illegally and you're defended with our money, and for now example, this program, the $30 million for the food doesn't start for 4 years. That's absurd. Where does the money go between them? There are like a shadow entity that has to have the light shine to remove and scatter the demented, and they're like cockroaches. Reorganize the government, reorganize the system. And here's the ending point. The biggest problem is you can't investigate your best friend. So the judges cannot be censoring each other. It's under sin Q non and non pro tonque. It's a violation of their own legal statute. Get out the bad judges, restart the system, and move forward. We built it, we'll take it back, not get burned down by idiots.
Yeah. Interesting comment on the judges thing, because look at and thank you for the call, Tyler. I appreciate it. Always a great call. What happened with Hakeem Jeffries, right? So Virginia's Supreme Court there, the highest court in the land of Virginia, comes back with that, hey, that whole redistricting thing, no good. It wasn't even good from the beginning, because even the idea and the concept of it didn't meet or pass constitutional muster of the state level. And they drew up, new, right? Talk about your gerrymandering, but it was very racial. They did it specifically to get a second all-black type of district, which means it was based solely on race. Well, guess what, guys? Anything that you do that's based solely on race, by definition, is racist. And the court said, A, we can't let it stand because you drew it based on race. Second of all, you didn't follow the procedure. You just, I brought when I talked about this originally, folks, I talked about the arrogance of the Democratic Party in general, sure, but specifically in the state of Virginia, the arrogance that we don't have to do it the way it's supposed to be done, because who's going to challenge it? We're all Democrats, and we can browbeat and bully the Republicans or anybody that votes Republicans down. And the court just said no. So what's Hakeem Jeffries' answer to that? Simple. Get rid of all the conservative judges. Let's put a age requirement in there, a time, get it out, and then restack the court because we control everything, Democrats that is, with all Democratic activist judges that are just going to rubber stamp everything we do. Nobody's going to apply the law or the Constitution to it. And that's what we hear on the federal level, right? Chuck Schumer, remember him out on the steps of the Supreme Court. You've done it now. You know, we're gonna bring you down, and probably should have been at least interviewed for threatening the entire Supreme Court. It's absolutely ridiculous. The branches of government, folks, let's say it again, like we're in third grade. We have three separate but equal branches, and they shall not go over to each other, right? They're supposed to be separated.
Yep.
You've got the legislative branch, and they make the laws, and they pass constitutional muster. That's the court's decision. And then the executive branch signs it into law, or they veto it, or they can desk veto it, right? But the point is they all have their roles and stop performing the functions of the other role. And we see this now with courts. We've got these federal judges, not the Supreme Court, the federal judges who think they can dictate to the president and the Secretary of State, like Mark Rubio, how they can run their departments or how the president can run the country.
Right.
You know, so it doesn't make any sense. Again, Tyler, thank you for the call. I appreciate it. Unless you had a final thought.
The executive, legislative, and judicial checks and balances. These fools said the checks and balance era of the Kennedy is dead. We see why Malcolm Martin and President Trump 3 times every 6 months. So their policy is outrageous, insidious, and malicious. They do not reflect us. They reflect a bad, dark part in our history where our politicians are so bad. The point is, you bring in people without the experience that are not corruptible and corrupted. You have checks and balances, and we return order, sanity, and system of the people, not system of a down.
Got it. All right. Thank you, Tyler. Appreciate the call. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation, folks. That's 508-871-7000. Don't forget our text line is running at 617-297-8388. All right, folks. Now, again, what I was going to get into is a lot of China talk here. First of all, happening right now, and I was watching it, man, is the Senate hearing that started about 10 o'clock. And it was just after the president and something like 15 CEOs touched down in China. So we have a whistleblower. Now, I think he really fits the whistleblower, right? Jim Erdman III. And he's a current longtime senior level CIA officer, about 20 years experience, an impeccable record. But he's appearing in front of this Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee, chaired by Senator Rand Paul, without the blessing or pre-approval of the CIA. So it's a real whistleblower situation. And no Democrats are attending. They're supposed to. Naturally, all committees have Democrat and Republicans. No Democrat decided to go here. But why is this? Why? Why do Democrats take some kind of feckless stand here and not show up at this? Do you not want to know what a whistleblower says? Because when they're your whistleblowers, aren't we told we have to listen to them? This is so important. How brave you are. If this person said, I want to come and talk to you about something I know about Donald Trump or something about the Trump organization, you couldn't spin a dead cat without hitting a Democrat in that committee hearing, I guarantee you. So what is it when they're talking about COVID, Wuhan, China, the cover-up? Why is not one Democrat attending this? What is it? What's important to you? The American people, the country that you got elected to represent and took an oath to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States from enemies, foreign and domestic? Why aren't you there? So this is a follow-up to the allegations Erdman and other closely related senior CIA whistleblowers first made in a closed-door testimony back in September 23, to House committees. And, at that time, he claimed that a 7-person CIA team reviewing COVID-19 origins had 6 analysts, 6 of them out of 7, concluded with, not the highest of confidence, but concluded, hey, this virus most likely originated from a lab leak in Wuhan. Remember the whole, I think it was Stewart on one of the late night shows about, we have this breakout of chocolate goodness in Hershey, Pennsylvania. How could all this chocolatey goodness break out right near the Hershey chocolate lab? Do you think they're connected? Now, I know it was a joke. I thought it was a good joke. I thought it was a very clever joke. He got a lot of backlash, both from his Hollywood types, but also about, from the masters he serves, about allowing it to go back on the air because it hit too close to home. So this had 7 panels, 6 of these scientists. Virus probably came from the lab leak in Wuhan. Let's see. There's a lab in Wuhan called the COVID virus or virology lab. I mean, the name is basically the name of the strain. But they're going to totally ignore that. And by the way, there was a whole history that the lab had safety issues and contamination and all kinds of stuff. But they're trying to tell you about bats and open meat markets. And it was beyond stupefying to watch them with straight faces say it didn't come from a lab. And that this COVID strain bucked all behavior in nature for the leap. And what I mean by that is when something that is a virus and exists in nature and exists in animals, the leap from animal to human is not done by casual contact. It takes a great amount of time. And it takes time for that virus to be able to settle and then flourish in a human body. It's just the way science works. But this, according to them, was a miracle of a leap from animal to human. Then there was the lone dissenter in this group of 7 guys, the most senior member of it, by the way. And he favored zoonosis or natural origin. He alleged the agency then offered 6 analysts significant monetary incentives. Now, I guess you could describe that as bribes or hush money, right? To change their position, resulting in the CIA's public stance of unable to determine the origin. One of those guys, and when this happened, I talked about the fact that in the emails, that the big dumper emails that they had, there was that email from this guy, that the 7th member, to Fauci at like 2:00 in the morning, very clearly laying out his thoughts and his arguments why it probably came from the lab. The fact that this doesn't happen in nature, it has all the earmarks in the genome and everything that this is lab made. He goes through all this email stuff. Fauci reads it at 2-something in the morning. And then the next day, this guy totally retracts that, which never was made public. Well, it wasn't at the time, the email, obviously, right? We didn't know about this email till what? A year later, or close to a year later. But the next day, he gets a $9 million grant from NHI that Fauci controls. And the next day, he changes it from probably came from the lab to onto terminal or happened in nature. So right now, Erdman is on the Capitol in the hearing, the Senate by Rand Paul, hearing that is, to allege an ongoing deep state intelligence community cover-up that suppressed the lab leak theory for years. Even after internal analysis strongly supported it, Senator Paul has framed it as part of a broader effort to uncover federal COVID-19 misconduct, obviously including ties to Fauci, gain-of-function research, and policy impacts like vaccine emergency use authorizations. Senator Paul has highlighted that the Institute of Limitations and certain related charges expired actually yesterday, May 12th. Should have done this a little earlier. But Fauci, who has been in this government role in one way or another the entire career, seems to hold a lot of patents for pharmaceutical things that has made him multi-millionaire. So now what Erdman is saying in today's testimony, and again, it's happening, so we'll find out later today what came out. But I thought it was very interesting that within hours of the president and the delegations touching down in China, this particular COVID-19 cover-up hearing is taking place. Interesting, is it not? Will it be addressed there or not? I don't know. But we also have a big problem with China spies throughout the United States, and we'll get into that when we come back on the other side of the break here today in the very first 11 a.m. edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN, reminding you to join the conversation at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. And our text line is up at 617-297-8388. Stick with us. We'll be back on the other side, folks.
WCRN. Time now for the forecast from the Boston Independence Group Weather Center. Call Jerry Doherty today at 877-772-1776. Retirement is within reach.
I'm Boston 25 Chief Meteorologist Sherry Spear, and here's the latest weather on Radio 830 WCRN. We've got mostly cloudy skies for today with a brief shower around midday. It's not going to add up to much. Not everybody ends up getting it. I'd say pretty low impact, because then this afternoon we return to generally dry, kind of breezy and cloudy conditions with highs in the lower 60s. Tomorrow is a washout. We've got heavy rain by late morning or midday, and it continues afternoon into evening. Although a widespread half an inch to an inch of rain is in the forecast, some spots will get 1 to 2 inches of total rainfall. I'm Chief Meteorologist Sherry Spear, and you can hear Boston 25 live for the morning drive weekdays on AM 830 WCRN.
You're listening to WCRN, Worcester.
Don't put mercury in the trash. Don't put mercury in the trash. Fluorescent lamps. Thermometers. Thermostats. These could all contain mercury, so let's dispose of them properly. Don't put mercury in the trash. Don't put mercury in the trash. Know your products with mercury, so you can dispose of them properly. Mercury is harmful to human health and the environment. To learn what products in your home may contain mercury and where to safely dispose of them, please contact your local Board of Health or Department of Public Works, or visit keepmercuryfromrising.org. Know your products with mercury, so you can dispose of them properly.
Visit keepmercuryfromrising.org, because together we can keep our environment safe. Brought to you by Win Waste Innovations. Performance for the planet.
All right, folks, welcome back here to the second half of the 11 a.m. version of the Joe Mangiacotti Show. First 11 a.m. show that we're doing here on AM 830 WCRN going forward. I'll be here at 11 a.m. on Wednesdays, and of course, Sundays from 9 to noon. The old Peter Blute time slot. And Peter's doing well, still continuing to work on his health and taking care of himself. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. That's 508-871-7000, and our text line running at 617-297-8388, 617-297-8388, and you can text that like you would anybody else, and it appears here on the screen in real time. So I made reference to in the first half here about it's interesting that, this COVID-19 cover-up committee hearing happening on the Hill right now as we're talking, as the president lands in China to meet with Xi Jinping, and he brings 15 CEOs, including Elon Musk and a bunch of other billionaires and tech people and IA people and all of that. But I want to, I guess, sound the alarm, and this isn't panic for panic's sake or anything, and it's not a wild-eyed conspiracy theory, because it's kind of a major national security warning here. And I think it's time America starts acting like a serious country again. And Trump has done that on so many levels. But the Chinese Communist Party is not simply competing with the United States. It is penetrating us. It is probing us. It is stealing from us. It is buying influence and mapping our infrastructure. It's exploiting our universities and targeting our farmland, borrowing into our technology and using our own openness against us. Read The Art of the War, right? This is not the old Soviet Union, with a handful of sleeper agents hiding in the suburbs, waiting for a coded message over shortwave radio. If you've never watched The Americas, it was out in the early 2000s, and it was really about the 80s. And we called that, right, the decade of the spies. Reagan came in 1981, sworn in as president, and we ended up arresting more Russian spies during the Reagan administration than any other time in the entire Cold War. So the show Americas is really interesting. It's about Russian sleeper agents living in the Washington, D.C. area. Check it out. You can probably get it streaming somewhere. So that's not how they're doing it, right? They're not doing it the way the Soviet Union, when the Soviet Union existed. That was child's play compared to what the Chinese Communist Party has built in modern America. Sure, the Soviet Union had spies. China has a system. And that system is inside our schools, our laboratories, our companies, our farms, our political networks, and our water systems, our telecom networks, our supply chains, our apps, drones, and even potentially the cars we drive. And this is not Cold War in the old sense. This is a silent war for access, leverage, data, influence, and control. What's the most frightening part about all this, right? We help them. We help China do it. Look at this Arcadia case. Local government. Look at what just happened in Arcadia, California. Eileen Wang, the former mayor of Arcadia, who had to just resign, she agreed to plead guilty to acting as an illegal agent of the People's Republic of China. Now, the Justice Department said Wang worked with Yoning Mike Sun, that was her husband or husband-to-be, and others to push pro Beijing propaganda throughout a website called U.S. News Center. Yeah, it's amazing, right? Anybody can have a website. So they had a website. They called the website and the domain name U.S. News Center. And the low information casual observer thinking that they're going to go here for a source for news for America, by America, right? No. This had content denying China's abuses in Xinjiang. The DOJ says the operation was coordinated with Chinese officials, and Wang failed to register as a foreign agent. So stop and think about that. It's not Washington, D.C. This was not the Pentagon. This was not the CIA. This was a local city official in California. That is the point. How many local officials throughout the country could actually be operating under the influence or with influence by Beijing? China is not only aiming at the White House, it's aiming at the school boards, city councils, local media, ethnic community organizations, our universities, business associations, state governments, and every soft entry point into American civil life. This is not the United Front model, right? You do not always need to seize power from the top. Sometimes you cultivate influence from the bottom, quietly, patiently, one relationship at a time. A local website, a local campaign, a local donor network, a local official with, getting a look at when Fang found Numbskull there, right? Swalwell was what? City councilman? And Fang comes into his life? And all of a sudden, donors from God knows where magically appear out of nowhere? And all of a sudden, he gets in his head, I wonder how I'm going to run for Congress. So they target a local official, small officials. All of a sudden, that person who can barely take care of himself has a structure and organization and donor money coming in to run for a larger, higher office. So that local community voice gets more influence and power, then suddenly the voice is repeating Beijing's line. This isn't outreach, folks. That is influence warfare. And the universities are wide open too. But let me pause on that for a second. 508-871-7000. Let me go to the phones. Mark's waiting patiently. Hey, Mark, welcome to the first 11 a.m. edition. What say you?
Everybody's got to be somewhere. So anyways, this mayor of Arcadia, California, suspected of being a spy for Red China. Is she an American citizen?
To my knowledge, she is. She was naturalized, but I don't have that in front of me in a report. That's my understanding. But don't
As far as you know, she's a naturalized American citizen, you say?
That's what I understand, but I wouldn't. I'm not saying it
Well,
definitively.
that's not good news for her, and you want to know why?
Oh, yeah.
She might even be charged with treason.
Yep. Yeah. Possible.
Have a good one, my friend.
Thank you, Mark. Good point to bring up. That's true. That's true. She's an American citizen and she's working for a foreign entity. That is treason. And not to quote Trump too many times in one show, but we still shoot people for that. We still execute people for treason. Well, it's on the books anyway. Off the top of my head, I don't know when the last time that happened was. But my point on this is the universities are wide open. Right? So we move into that. For decades, American higher education took the money, took the students, took the partnerships, the prestige. Look what happened with Joe Biden, right? University of Pennsylvania, the Biden wing. basically was created because of the donation from China into that university. That's a whole nother show, but we've talked about it when it was happening in the past. They took the foreign relationships, and too many of them forgot to ask the most basic question: who benefits? So many times people find it easy when offered a great deal of money. What's the catch? Because what did I say at the beginning that we're adding to the laws about death and taxes? We're going to group no such thing as a free lunch into those absolute laws. And a lot of people, when a big pile of money gets dumped in your lap, you don't ask because you don't want to know. Because if you ask and you're told what the hook is, if you're told what the catch is, then you have to decide whether or not you're going to leap from being ignorant and thinking you're a lucky schmuck to becoming part of the crime or the scam or whatever it is that's happening. So who benefits? The case of Harvard's, remember Lieber, Charles Lieber, right? Harvard professor. That should have been a national wake-up call. Lieber, the former chair of Harvard's chemistry department, was convicted of making false statements and tax offenses tied to the relationship with China's 1,000 Talents program. And wait for it, Wuhan University of Technology. DOJ said he had been paid by the Chinese university while failing to disclose those ties properly. They also had mirrored a lab. So he has a very well-equipped, a sophisticated lab at Harvard. China built him one mirrored lab, a beautiful, the same exact beautiful lab in China. And he never told Harvard about it. And he never told Uncle Sam about the financial gain. Was he hiding it purposely, or did he not think he had to tell IRS? Because it was a foreign money. That comes with more catches than if you make your money within the United States, guy. And you know that. So he was convicted of making false statements, tax offenses, ties to the 1,000 Talents program. And here is the insult on top of the injury. Reuters reported in 2026 that Lieber had rebuilt his research career in China, leading work in brain-computer interface technology in Shenzhen. So let's get this straight. American taxpayers help build a research ecosystem. American universities provide the platform. American prestige creates the value. Then the knowledge migrates to China, sometimes with hidden relationships, hidden payments, hidden obligations, hidden state connections. That's not an academic exchange. That is a national security malpractice. Now, to be precise, not every case brought against academics has held up, right? The MIT Gangzhen case example. He was ultimately dismissed by the Justice Department. But why does this matter? It matters because we must be accurate. But the dismissal of one case does not erase the larger pattern here. Beijing has systematically targeted American research, especially in fields with military, industrial, technological, and the scary one, right? Biotech value too. And the CCP understands something too many American administrators refuse to understand in China. There is no clean wall between civilian research and state power. Military ambition, right? It isn't. We talked about last year, or maybe a little long ago, right? Trying to pass that whole law within the country that says no citizen, no business can refuse to answer or coordinate or help or do the bidding of the Chinese intelligence agency. Basically, right, virtually turning every American citizen and every Chinese national in the United States into a agent of the Chinese intelligence, whether you want to downgrade them to useful idiot or actually, active asset or active agent. But they virtually did that overnight in China. Now, to be precise, not every case brought against academics has held up, like I said, right? We had that one in MIT. But and the CCP understands something too many American administrators refuse to understand. And that is that there is no, it's not even a veil. It's not even a thinly veiled. There is no separation of these things. It's called military-civil fusion. In plain English, your medical breakthrough, your AI model, your robotics research, your semiconductor design, or your drone system, your advanced material, your architectural pathogen study, all of it can become useful to the Chinese state. And even if that's done here in America. 508-871-7000 is how you join the conversation. Let's go to Ken, who's been waiting patiently. Hey, Ken, what say you?
Good morning, Joe.
Good morning. Welcome to the first 11 a.m. edition.
Yes. And, I prefer early, so it's good morning every time I call. Great. I love it.
Yeah, I like it too, because the 1 o'clock was always right in the middle of the day, and it was hard to concentrate on one thing or another. But that's my issue. But I like the 11 o'clock as a better time.
So I wanted to pick up. Mark had a California scandal he brought up, and but I'm looking at California politics and saying, is it not what was?
And wasn't it Feinstein, whose driver for 20 years was also a Chinese spy? I mean, what is it with Democrats? And, it's just, go ahead, make your point. But yeah, it's just so triggering.
Yeah, we can talk about the old scandals, but let's talk about the current candidates. Hey, how about that Los Angeles mayor race? What do you think of Spencer Pratt?
I am loving the Spencer Pratt mayoral race. Okay, because I gotta be honest with you, I didn't know who the guy was. I mean, the name kind of had an echo to it, and I guess he was on the hills and some reality. I don't really know, because that's not my thing, and that's all fine. But you know what the criticism, Ken? Oh, a reality star. Oh, he doesn't have the qualifications. Well, we've got a former reality star sitting in the Oval right now who's doing a pretty damn good job. And that cracks me up, because when the Democrats throw that Spencer Pratt doesn't have the qualifications, Bass does. What in your mind? As long as you're part of the Democratic machine and you've been a good soldier, then you're qualified. I mean, what is that about? It just grinds my gears, as Peter Griffith would say.
But Joe, it's a matter of what you're qualified to do. They're very qualified to destroy California. They're doing one heck of a job.
Yeah, and it's not just, what I'm saying? You can't have that many mess ups that cause so much damage because of incompetence. Don't you actually have to work at being that incompetent? I mean, can somebody be that incompetent by nature? Just naturally that incompetent? Because if you talk about the fires, right, Ken? Not only were all of those water holding tanks, and they have they're not always tanks, right? They're like built up pools that they have wall dry. Something like, I don't know, was it 12 or 15% of LA's fire equipment was out of commission waiting to get serviced? And I don't know if the fire chief, the head chief, I mean, you got a lot of chiefs in the fire department, but I don't know, what do they call the top chief of all? I don't know if it's a superintendent or something, but she was that heavy-set lesbian who said, when she was asked, well, are you really equipped to pull out a 250-pound man from a burning building? And she said, well, maybe you shouldn't be that heavy. Maybe if you find yourself in a fire and you weigh that much, it's your fault. Not, and she had to be 2 bills herself. But was that a DEI hire? I don't know, man. This is crazy. But go ahead. Yeah, I love this mayoral race. I love the ads that he has come out. And did you see the latest ad that opposition put out against Pratt? But if you didn't know better, you would have thought it was Pratt's commercial, because they show these beautiful condos and say Spencer Pratt doesn't want to give housing to homeless. And they're showing these beautiful condos. Spencer Pratt wants more police officers on the street. Like, things in their head that they think are bad. If I was Spencer Pratt, I wouldn't change that commercial at all. I would air the commercial, and at the end of it, I'd say, I'm Spencer Pratt. And guess what? I even approve that commercial. That's all I do. It's literally a commercial in his favor, but they don't see it. They really don't see it. They thought this was a gotcha. Do you think he will win? You know, they have that jungle, they call it a jungle primary, right? The 3 top. And so 2 of them are, in the next debate, by the way, Ken, Bass dropped out. She won't even debate him. She's afraid to go on the debate stage with the guy. And the other one, I forget her name. I think she might be Indian, very black hair, brown skin. I think she's Indian. She's backtracking her to fund the police thing. So he's already had massive influence. He caused Bass to drop out. He's getting them to put up these ridiculous anti-Pratt that are actually, to a normal person, pro-Pratt commercials. And he's got the third candidate backtracking her defund the police statements. That's a good start.
This is reminding me, Joe, those of us old enough, of 1978, Proposition 13, which was what followed Proposition 13 in Massachusetts?
I don't recall.
Proposition 2.5?
Say again.
Remember that?
Oh, Prop 13 was the 2.5% property tax one?
What I'm saying is Proposition 13 was a property tax limit in California. So they, Howard Jarvis, if I remember right, was the name, that made that happen. And that inspired people in Massachusetts to come up with 2.5. You wonder if there's good things happening in California, they can brush up on Massachusetts, just maybe. I'm saying there's a hope.
And remember, Ken, that gave us Barbara Anderson, Chip Faulkner, CLT, Citizens for Limited Taxation. And in my office, my office at the station, there's a picture of Chip Faulkner and Barbara Anderson handing me a $3,500 check from the PAC money in 1992 for my state Senate run. They endorsed me, and I'm proud of that endorsement from CLT back in the day. And that's too bad. I mean, Barbara Anderson passed several years ago, but I used to love listening to her on any of these shows debate somebody. She was so good.
Here's a funny thing, as you bring that up, Joe. So I left the state in 22. You know what happened in 22? A remnant of Barbara Anderson kicked in because post-COVID, we had a surplus in the state, Massachusetts, and we got a rebate. I got one, even though I left the state. I loved it. Thank you, Barbara.
Yeah.
It was 4 digits. I like it.
She was a force to be reckoned with, as they say.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But I really,
what?
I know there's a lot of conservatives that have left California. So it's going to be an uphill battle. But for anybody that's still there, that's even close to the center, do you think they're going to come out and vote? Whether they're in LA or it's for the governor? And maybe that helps us even in some of the closer Congress races, congressional races. And guess what? There's already speculation that the redistricted California were based on race, and they may have to change the way they do.
Absolutely.
working force.
Absolutely. Look, the Democratic machine in California with the LA mayor race, they're really trying to make it national, right? They're saying they're saying, hey, Spencer Pratt voted for Trump. Like, that's all they need to say. They feel that all they have to tell everybody in LA is he voted for Trump, and that's enough. Like, oh, if he voted for Trump, then obviously we can't vote for him. And he's doing because he's an independent, and he's doing his best to keep it very local. He doesn't want it to be nationalized because then it just gets out of whack. He wants to keep it as a local race, and he's talking about the problems, right? He's talking about solutions. And Ted says there's nothing democratic about the Democratic Party. Absolutely. The whole switch out Joe Biden for Kamala Harris showed us that in big time. But Spencer Pratt's trying to keep that as a very local race. He doesn't want to nationalize it. He doesn't want to waste his time defending those and all of that. But I think he actually has a shot. Meanwhile, Steve Hilton is doing very well at the governor's level. And I think if LA or let me say Californians can actually, and you conservative, middle of the road independents and Republicans, get off your butts, make sure you vote, and you put Pratt in and you put Steve Hilton in, then one of the most, if not the most beautiful state in the union could come back from the brink. And Ken, thank you for the call. I appreciate it. And I know that whenever Gavin Newsom starts to get pressed about California, he comes back with, we're the third largest economy in the world, or some, thing like that. And somebody, Bill Maher, you missed that opportunity. Say, sure, you are, but you have nothing to do with that. Do you think you have something to do with that? You have nothing. California was a beautiful state before you were born. California has had more people move into it every year since it's existed till you became governor. And now for the first time in its history, more people are leaving than moving in. You have spent billions on the homeless situation.
Be quiet.
Sorry?
Be quiet.
Who are you talking to? All right. Anyway, I don't know what's up, Ted, but the point is, he has nothing to do with the economy of the state. He has nothing to do with how well California has done. He only has to do with what has gone wrong since he's been governor. That wraps up the Wednesday edition show. Have a great rest of the day. Thanks for joining me for the first Wednesday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show. Show out, folks.
Douglas, what the hell was that?
This